Recovery is not about doing recovery good once in a while. It's about consistently doing the healthy stuff every day. And that is super, super challenging for people from complex trauma. Part of what the focus I've been looking at is there's a lot of stuff out right now on recovery tools, and they're excellent tools. But what I want to add to the discussion is that there has to be some underneath attitudes, that if you don't have those attitudes, you just don't get to recovery. And so we've talked about commitment. We've talked about courage. Today I want to talk about consistency. So a definition of consistency is constantly following the same principles or course of action in all circumstances, regardless of how I feel. The practice of regularly and reliably doing the same actions or maintaining the same behaviors over time. So it's doing the healthy thing, the right thing, day after day, regardless of how I feel. That is consistency. That is vital if one is going to get healthy, if one is going to recover. So it's not thinking that if I do the right thing once or twice, that's going to be good enough. No, it's doing the right thing once or twice does not make a difference. You have to consistently do it. Persist at doing it, even when you don't feel like it. So it's hanging in there, continuing to do the right thing when life gets hard, when life gets overwhelming, when everything in you wants to go back to fight, flight, or freeze. That is the key to recovery. So if you look at all of life, basically what you begin to realize is it's only when we consistently follow healthy tools, loving perspective and values that you end up with a healthy relationship, healthy people, healthy society. But you gotta do it consistently. It's not just about having all the right rules. It's not just about having all the right tools. It's consistently applying them. Marie Forleo, success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. And then Tony Robbins says, it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. Then Anonymous, it's not about perfect, it's about effort. And when you bring that effort every single day, that's where transformation happens. That's how change occurs. Consistently bringing effort every single day. So let's bring all of this to complex trauma and see that consistency is not part of complex trauma. It's consistent only in that it provides an unsafe environment. But all of the healthy consistency, healthy love, healthy tools, healthy connection, healthy presence is not there. So complex trauma is a child growing up in inconsistency in all the areas that should be consistent and consistency in areas that should be absent. And so complex trauma is all about inconsistency, about all of the important love elements of a healthy life. It results in unpredictability, in chaos, in constant crisis, in consistent danger. That's complex trauma. So if a child grows up in that, I just want to make an observation. What that feels like for a child when they actually then end up in consistency can feel boring for them. So just be aware of that in recovery. That as soon as you start working towards being consistent, it can actually trigger something in you that says, this feels boring. I want to go back to crisis and chaos. There's one other element that I want you to see here. So a child naturally is in their limbic brain, but then a child in danger growing up into teen years and adult years remains in their limbic brain because of danger. So they're not growing and transitioning to living out of their cortex. They're staying with the limbic brain being the most powerful part of the brain that's in the driver's seat. And so they grow up with, I want instant protection. I want instant gratification. I only do stuff if I feel like it. My feelings determine everything. That becomes their controlling force in their life. So the limbic brain becomes a very detrimental piece for them in getting healthy because it keeps them inconsistent themselves. They grew up in inconsistency. They hate inconsistency, but that kept them in their limbic brain. And now in adult life, they continue to live out of their limbic brain and they end up being inconsistent, the very thing that they hate. So let me go back to developing consistency and the importance of it. So just think of any skill that's going to lead to long-term success. So let's start with Aristotle, the Greek philosopher. He said to be great in some area, whether a soldier, athlete, musician, there are certain muscles one needs to train. There are certain habits they must adopt, and those habits must become second nature. So in other words, in order to become great at anything, you got to learn certain skills, certain tools, and you got to practice those tools over and over and over and over until they become second nature, until they become part of your subconscious that you can just do it. So you consistently practice. And the consistency of practicing the same healthy tools over and over leads to long-term success. So when you go to build healthy character qualities, how do you do it? It doesn't just magically fall from the sky. It doesn't just happen through 3 easy steps and then you've got it and you're good to go. No, you got to choose to do it and then repeat it again and again every day until it becomes part of who you are, until it becomes your nature. That's how we become healthy. It's really easy to be loving when you feel like being loving, when it's easy to be loving. But to be loving, truly loving, when loving is part of your character, is you choose to be loving when you don't feel like it. You choose to be loving when you're tired. You choose to be loving when you're angry. You choose to be respectful when that person has just hurt you. You repeat it. You make choices that you repeat and repeat until it becomes part of who you are. And so you don't become healthy through 3 easy steps. It's consistent hard work. So let's end with how do we grow in becoming consistent? Many people think it's just greater self-discipline, that you drive yourself. You don't have fun. You don't have balance in your life. You just force yourself to do stuff. And I go, no. I need to find the balance between fun and serious. I need to find the balance between being in my sympathetic and my parasympathetic. I need to meet all of my 12 needs. So consistency isn't about driving myself. Consistency is about finding balance in life. That is so essential. And so as I find balance, as my needs are met, as I have the right amount of rest and the right amount of work, then I have the energy. I'm not driven by this emptiness and discontent inside. Then I can create consistency. So find that healthy balance. If you fail, don't get down on yourself. If you have a day where you aren't consistent, don't beat yourself up. Go, okay, what can I learn from this? What could I have done differently? And get back up and try again. And each time you do, you're going to learn more tools and keep growing. Understand that being consistent requires boundaries. I can't consistently do the right thing if I'm saying yes to everybody else's request. If I'm letting everybody into my life that wants to come into my life. I have to say no to the request of others in order to do what is most important for myself. So I have to get good at boundaries. Next, I'm not going to be consistent unless I know what is healthy, what is loving, what is my life purpose, what do I want to be doing. So I need to take time to sort out, what am I here for? What do I want to be giving my life to? What matters to me? What are the priorities of my life? What relationships matter the most? What do I need to invest the most time into? I need to sort that out. I think it is so helpful to have a role model in your life like I had, that models consistency, that gives you up close and personal a picture of what consistency looks like. That is so helpful. But then understand that recovery is a marathon, not a sprint. It is not a quick little fix and all of a sudden I'm going to be healthy and all of a sudden everything's going to be good. No, it is doing the same healthy things over and over, day after day, year after year. And I have to accept that this is a long, long journey. And that then means that there's a power to a routine that is healthy. That I need to get up every day and develop a routine that meets my 12 needs. I need to spend time meditating. I need to spend time in mindfulness. I need to ground myself. I need to do inventories. I need to feed my soul. I need to feed my need for beauty. I need to connect. On and on. I need to develop a routine that every day makes sure those needs get met. Physical needs, emotional needs, intellectual needs, relational needs, spiritual needs, all of my needs. That becomes my routine. And as I do it, that routine becomes second nature. And as I then do it, it actually leads to a joy. I do it automatically. I want to do it. It becomes part of my life. The next thing is part of consistency is developing tools to regulate my limbic brain, my emotions. So when my limbic brain gets triggered and it wants to dysregulate, I'm able to ground myself, to regulate it back, to get me back into my cortex. Learning those regulation tools is essential in being consistent. With that is that mindfulness, taking time every day to get quiet, taking time every day to do an inventory of how am I doing physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, listening to my body, going inside and being aware of what is going on. And that's being aware of where's my limbic brain at? How activated is it in different areas? That doesn't mean it's going to take over and get in the driver's seat, but I need to be aware of it. And then keep growing and learning about what's healthy look like, what's loving look like. Practice every day doing healthy things, doing loving things, so that it becomes part of who you are. Many people find accountability is helpful in growing in consistency. So it's telling a friend, hey, I'm going to walk for 5 miles every day. I'm going to read for 20 minutes every day. I'm going to meditate. Would you check in with me? I need to be accountable to somebody. That helps with accountability. And then finally, I would say a couple times a week, push yourself to do something healthy that you don't feel like doing. So, you know what? I should just sit and read. Oh, I don't feel like reading. Well, I'm going to force myself to read. That just, again, overcomes some of that limbic brain pull, and it strengthens the muscle of the cortex that I am going to do what is healthy even when I don't feel like it. So I hope you see the importance of consistency. I hope you see some tools and a path to growing in consistency in your life. And again, I just hope this helps you become a healthier person and a healthier parent. So thank you again for being with us. If this was helpful, like, subscribe, share it with others. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.